Hello, my friends. We meet again. It's been a while. Where should we begin? I think I've done that one before, but I can't remember. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to whoever's watching. Uh, it is a gloomy, very busy morning here in Glendale, California. I say Los Angeles generally to people who don't know where the fuck Glendale is, but for those of my friends around the world, the general Los Angeles, the greater Los Angeles. Uh, Glendale's a really weird place to live. It's nice. It's definitely nice, but it's also very, very, very busy. And like, there's a lot of people out today. I went to go to the gym, and it took me 20 minutes just to turn around because it was like, I don't know. It's just strange out here, which is so funny because it's like, today's topic was like, let's talk about this other realm. Let's talk about spirituality. Like, I know I said in the last video, like, oh, I'm not going to do advice things or whatever. But in my natural fashion, I guess I had something, the whole point of this whole thing again was to be inspired by stuff. And I got inspired by something and I wanted to talk about it. I even like sat down and made coffee and wanted to just write some points down and some things about like the journey into it, how to like get into spiritual practices, because it's so taboo and cringy. And I don't think people represent it correctly all the time, majority of the time. I think like kindly 70% of the time, but I would say mostly like 90% of the time, people just make it feel like it's goofy and strange and uncomfortable. And it is all those things. It can be, but it's also like a spirituality in the whole is like in the great concept of it, and why people say, "Oh, I'm a spiritual person, not like a religious person or whatever." It's because there's an open-mindedness to it in most cases. I had something written down here as like a key point. Spirituality to me is a doorway to many other doorways that just connect you deeper to yourself, to others, and to planet Earth. That's it. Spirituality is just a way to connect to yourself and all things around you. And that's beautiful for some of us because some of us feel anxious and scared trying to connect. Others who are anxious and scared for different reasons. There's people who want to close off from the world. They don't want to get closer to it. This cruel world we live in. No one wants to do that. Well, not no one, but there's a lot of people who don't. But there's a beauty within all of it, and even how chaotic and ugly the world can be and just terrible, there's nuance. And I've talked about it before. There's just things that kind of happen at the same time. There's like great and terrible things that happen simultaneously. And to me, my spiritual journey has been a way to broaden my empathy, to put myself in other people's shoes more, to appreciate seasons of my life and seasons on this earth, to not get mad at rainy days and to not be like so over encumbered by the happenings of the world. That's what spirituality does for me. It opens me up. And if you feel the same way as me, like where you look at the world and you want to be grateful, you want to be happy to be here, but it's hard. Like you don't know how. Like, how can I be so happy when, like I said this morning, like all this traffic's going, people driving the worst I've ever seen it. How am I supposed to be happy? How am I supposed to be this? How am I supposed to be happy when children are dying on the other side of the world and it's cruel and evil? It's a hard question. None of us really know how to do it. We're doing our best, those of us who want to, and those who remain ignorant, it's very obvious that those people are miserable within themselves. I think people try to protect what's closest to them, and so they shut themselves off from the world and pretend it doesn't exist. And I think that is ignorance in its like most basic definition. Is we're so scared of everything that we can't even conceptualize taking on the feelings and the problems of the world when we don't even know how to do it for ourselves. Just as a note. So, all right, down to the meat and potatoes of this video. I wanted to kind of clickbait it a little bit, because I got all excited. So, okay. The 8 key points of spirituality for beginners. This is how you know, or this is how you can identify if you want to practice spirituality, because there's a billion, well, I don't know if there's a billion, but there's hundreds and thousands of ways to practice different things: Buddhism, Taoism, paganism, all these different forms of magic and earthly divine practices. If I'm botching names and definitions, please feel free to like throw in comments of stuff that are like practices and stuff, so everyone becomes aware. Again, this is a community here. Okay. The 8 key building blocks of spirituality to get into it. The first one, these are not in order, but the first one is faith. This is not religious faith. This is faith that there are greater forces in this world that are in motion, that are moving to create harmony. Now, there are some arguments there, believing in something greater, like a creator or a God or whatever it is. You're believing that there's someone who's, moving life to connect you to your higher self. And I do believe in that. But I'm trying to broaden this topic out. I want people to feel invited into this. So the first block is faith. Faith in this example only means that we feel like, oh, I have faith in that. It's not saying that you have hope in that. I'm going to get to that in a second. Faith is saying that you believe that the things in life, the Rubik's Cube of life, will twist and turn the way that is meant to be the most harmonious, and that there are forces in this world that will inevitably do that. That doesn't mean for everything, but it means when you start to, when you believe in faith, when you have faith, it means that you just think truly believe things are going to work out because something's pushing it to be harmonious. Not pushing it, but moving it, shifting it to be harmonious. Then, so faith is the first one. The second one of the 8 is hope. If you're a very optimistic person like myself, I'm not always, but then you believe that things are going to work out for the better. So maybe you don't necessarily believe in a God, but you have, you hope, and you're like, you know what, like maybe this will work out. I hope it does. It's a positive mindset. So faith is the belief that things are shifting for the better. Hope is the mindset and the feeling that things always will be better, because you're putting out there, you're giving hope, you're receiving hope, you're looking for hope in this world. You are generating positive energy. So hope is positive energy. So faith, hope. The third one I wrote down is acceptance. Similarly to like a 12-step program, and I won't dive deep into that because I'm not an expert in that at all. I just through friends and connections learning about things like that, I really respect that program, and I have such a enamor and interest in how that works. But acceptance is understanding, and this is a simple way. Acceptance is understanding that things are what they are and as they're meant to be and no more. That doesn't mean that things have to be a certain way. Like if you're suffering, or if you're watching someone suffer, or people suffer, things, you don't just say like, oh, it is what it is. Not that. Acceptance is a different thing. Acceptance is me saying, like, when I let's bring it down to a more first world, like, for lack of a better term, or like just more, basic level. If I'm out, and I went to go to the gym this morning, right? And then I turned back around, I accepted the fact that if I go to do this, I'm going to be frustrated and I'm not going to be my best self. I'm not going to have a good day trying to do this. So if I can accept that the world is just a little bit chaotic right now on this particular morning, and do something that's good for me, then I've accepted that the world is just doing that right now. And then I'm going to be able to come back into myself. Acceptance is just another form of awareness, which I'll also get to. So faith, hope, and acceptance. So again, acceptance is just seeing things as they are and not trying to force them. So again, just because something's happening doesn't mean it has to or it's meant to, but being able to see people as they are and situations as they are and not trying to distort the lens, that is acceptance. So just seeing things as they are. Okay, we can change things later. I'll get to that. Faith, hope, acceptance. Fourth one, tradition. This is the one that I think, the fourth and fifth one that I wrote down, I think are the ones that mess with people the most. Tradition's really beautiful. Tradition is, and by my definition, honoring the ones before you, the people who have come and gone, who are no longer here, and learning from them. Tradition is going back to your heritage, like honoring the indigenous people of this world, and like of the the place that you walk. Before there were cities and things, there were people and creatures just doing and living and very well connected to themselves. It doesn't always mean that it was harmonious, but in like a non-violent way, but it also was not abusive to a system or the world or the planet. Tradition is a really beautiful way of connecting. Okay. So tradition is doing things because you want to feel the love that has been given to you. You want to receive the love of generations. That's tradition. That's tradition. Doing things in practice of the ones who've come before you to the best of your knowledge and to the most accuracy. So that way you can embody people of honor, people of love, and people of knowledge. And you can receive that. And it helps you learn. Because there's so much to learn in spirituality. So you definitely have to like pick your traditions, pick your thing, and kind of stick to it. All right. The fifth thing is ritual. So tradition and ritual fuck with people because like you'll see people doing things that aren't necessarily appropriate, but, or you'll see things that are strange. Like not all people who are spiritual are going around shoving gemstones up their ass, but don't knock it till you try it. I'm just kidding. It's a joke I make all the time, but ritual is making space and time for things that deepen your self-connection and your connection to the world. So ritual can be like, every day I take my shoes off after work and I go walk in the grass, rain or shine. Ritual can be, I have an incense burning right now. I light an incense when I'm speaking, writing, listening to something, reading, because, the scent triggers you back to locking into the moment, being present. Ritual is, working with crystals and chanting, meditating. Like ritual is kind of like the over-encompassing part of spirituality. I think when people think of spirituality, they think you have to like, cross your legs and float in the middle of the room. And it's like, that's cool for those who can do that. But ritual is just whatever is for you. It's whatever just takes you out of society and helps you lock in to yourself and your space and gratitude. Ritual can be anything. Again, like from incense, lighting sage, to crystals, to none of that shit. Ritual can just be like, when I make my coffee, before I take a sip, I put my hands together and I pray. Or before I eat. That's ritual. Adding ritual into your life, and then going back a step, doing it based on tradition, like creating that tradition even, is a really great way to just feel like you're in a safe space. Spirituality is really just to bring you into a safe space to feel loved by yourself and others. And it's not escapism. It's, again, it's just a way to go deeper and to feel better, right? Okay. Faith, hope, acceptance, tradition, ritual, awareness. I put this one on here and I kept saying aware, but awareness is just, within all these practices, these other practices, you have to be able to feel yourself, feel another person. And I mean by feel, like, like that telepathic kind of thing. Like when you know how when you sit next to somebody, or let's say you're reading a book and you can feel someone sitting next to you. Like, it's that weird intuition. So maybe I should have wrote, intuitiveness, but like awareness is a much more basic way to describe it, and by the way, all these points that I'm making, these are keynotes, sort of like things to like, if, I have a lot of faith in life. Oh, maybe I'm a spiritual person. Hope, or acceptance and awareness, and right. Or I love rituals. I love routines. I love traditions. Like that's your way into being spiritual. You're connecting to the spirits, the world, it's like all the things that have come and gone, that are, and that will be. That's all it is. All right. Awareness, again, is just being able to sense things. Sensing yourself, asking yourself what you need. That's awareness. Asking yourself if you're able to help somebody. That's awareness. Because if you can't help somebody, then don't, because you're not going to be a help to anybody. And that's a hard one for some of us, So awareness is just the ability to come in and out like this, like, to be able to go in and out of yourself, and then to be like, oh, okay, I see what's going on. That's awareness. It's just to be able to zoom out. It's a really hard skill for a lot of people. I think acceptance is probably the most important way of all this, which is, not acceptance, but awareness. Excuse me. I keep saying acceptance. Awareness and acceptance both are very hard to learn. And if you could learn those two, then you're probably opening up your mind and heart to becoming a spiritual person. Manifestation. That's one of the building blocks. This is a tough one for people who have never been spiritual, because you're like, what the fuck does manifestation mean? Like, you don't just close your eyes and wish for a pink elephant to walk through the room and then you open your eyes and it's there. Probably not impossible by some strange feat, but like, those aren't things that you manifest. Manifestation to me is actually a very mathematical concept. It's just basically saying, the more I repeat positive affirmations, and the more that I unlock feelings within myself that are centering, meaning like I feel like I'm with myself, grounding, which means I feel humbled. The more I repeat these practices or mantras, the more positive outcomes appear in my life. That's all manifestation is. It's math. It's just, the more consistent I am in living positively, speaking positively, thinking positively, then positive things will happen, because I see the world as such. Does that make sense? Manifestation is really not crazy. It's not like, when all my stuff got stolen, my cousin, I love her so much for this, but my cousin said to me, she was like, I'm manifesting all of your stuff's going to come back. It's not going to come back. And even if it did, that's great, but that's not what I wanted to manifest. What I took out of that situation was I manifested saying, I'm going to learn to be whole with less things. Right? Like, a sad situation transmuted that into a positive thought. I'm going to learn how to detach from things correctly. So I'm going to manifest a life where a little is a lot, in a good way, where I don't need so many things. You manifest feelings. You can manifest the ability to be stronger, at the gym, you don't, when you go to work out and you want, let's say your goal is to slim down or to bulk up, you're manifesting it by showing up, researching it, trying it, failing at it. Like manifesting is just another word for, process, to continually input the information that you want to receive, right? Like, so if I want positive results, I need to put positive action in. I need to put positive actions into action. I need to do those things. That's all manifestation is. It's not some weird other thing. Like, some people would argue with me on that one, but again, I'm trying to speak to people here who are afraid to be spiritual, and this is your way to deepen that. But yeah, manifestation is just a practice of being positive, so that way you can receive positive outcomes. That's all. It's just math. Lastly, the 8th one, meditation. Meditation, again, by my definition, is the ability to sit and connect with oneself and resonate in the moment, to breathe, to let thoughts pass through you, to let emotions flow through you, to just let things happen in a space of non-judgment. I think that's why people like meditating. People like meditating because it's your moment of silence. It's your moment to just be with yourself in the purest form. Because when you close your eyes, the only things that you see are what the mind is actively doing. And if you could learn how to quiet the mind, then you can just hear and feel things. And then you're able to take that into the world and do some really wonderful things with that. So meditation is another doorway in. So again, in review, there's 8 building blocks of spirituality, ways to get into spirituality: faith, hope, acceptance, tradition, ritual, awareness, manifestation, and meditation. Usually it starts with one of these things and then it cascades into a whole practice. Me just describing those blocks was like a whole video, and that's totally fine. But like, I do want to dive into some other stuff about like some taboo. I understand why people don't like the term spirituality, because there's people who run around who are like just kind of sketchy, like it doesn't feel real. Like, sometimes people go so deep into spirituality that they become absent of actually connecting to people, and then they kind of force people into it. And that's not, you should never be, especially if you're like a spiritual being, you shouldn't be forcing anybody into anything. You should be welcoming them and sharing experiences, but that doesn't, it's not to the ends of inviting someone to a fucking, like, sorry, I'm going to be shitting on people. I probably shouldn't do that. I was going to say like a moon orgy. I was trying to make a joke, but sounds fun, but you know what I mean? Like, we need to, if anyone's watching this who is a spiritual practitioner and who's a friend of mine, you know what I mean. We need to be inviting and open to people who just want to be happier. Because again, the spirituality thing is just, you're not going to church. You're not living by some strict rules. You're just trying to open up your heart and your mind and be free. And to be able to separate yourself from a very complicated world. That's the only, that's like the basic form of it. There are, transcendental, is that the right word? Yes. There are ways to go higher and deeper, and there's ayahuasca and things that are beautiful practices that take you a little bit out of yourself. There's people who they like mushrooms and all these other things that kind of help you really open up your lens. Nothing wrong with that. That's great. That comes on a different level, like plant medicine and stuff. That's another level. But no one talks about the start. getting into it, it's just really just do what inspires you. If meditating inspires you, if self-help books inspire you, that's all spiritual practices. It's not based on God or anything. And like, you don't have to like conform to like Buddhism or Taoism or Christianity. Like you don't have to do that. Spirituality is those things, but it's also bigger than that. Like and when it's bigger than that, it's kind of like a Cheesecake Factory menu. Like there's no wrong answer. There's just a lot of options. And if you pick one, you're probably not going to be wrong. It's all just different, right? Which is my best example for anything. Spirituality is only scary when you're facing yourself, which ultimately is the point of it. But it itself is not scary. Just because you start meditating or lighting candles or wearing, crystals or like learning tarot cards, you're not inviting in demons. You're just learning how to communicate with yourself and greater forces. And if you don't believe in any of that, that's totally fine. Again, spirituality is supposed to be a welcoming practice. And I really wanted to talk about this because it's like people just get so scared of it. There's nothing to be scared of. You can go as deep into spirituality as you want to. If the door for you stops at I meditate 5 minutes a day and I'm going to do that for the rest of my life, you're good. That's good. That's plenty. And it is plenty. The whole point is to feel connected to yourself. It's not to like be, better than thou. And people do that with spirituality. They take it to this level where it's just not attainable to everyday people because you're so far gone and up your ass that you just like forget how to be a person. So that's not all people though. Like I've met wonderful people in this realm that are just wonderful. Today is actually, it's so funny. I made this video intuitively, but I also realized today is the anniversary of me going to Joshua Tree with my friend Tara, who is a wonderful just human being, but an incredibly wise and powerful spiritual practitioner and oracle. And it was my first time going on a retreat with somebody where we were going to go through practices and finding spirit animals and journaling and sort of learning how to embody a spiritual like realm, like just really like how to like create that space and make it really pungent and to find ourselves. And she was my guide through that, and it was a wonderful experience. It was very mind-blowing. I thank her very much for that experience. And today's the anniversary of that, so it's really cool to be making this video. But again, like I'm not wearing my crystals right now. Like, that's just something that I do when I feel called to it. So don't let people fool you in that. Like, again, even the crystal stuff, those are totems. They're reminders. They're ways to ground yourself. And those things do carry energy, like whether you believe that or not. But like, but if you don't believe in that, then here's the basic way I can describe crystals. The only point of that, because I literally have them in front of me and all over my apartment, in my car, in my backpack. I love, it's just ways to connect to yourself. It's just when I get the bag of crystals out and I hold them, I'm just happy because I earned them. I sought them out. It's my pathway back to peace. That's all it is. There's no shame in that. It's my connectors. It's my things that when I hold them and see them and look at them, and when I smile, I feel gratitude, I feel safety. And that's what all this stuff is for. And there's extremes of everything. So just remember that if you're beginning a spiritual practice, you can go as quickly as you want to, as far as you'd like to, and no one's ever going to force you to do anything strange. There's a lot to it. There's deep, dark, and scary parts of it that I've seen and felt things I can't describe. But all of that was for my better. All of that was for me just to look at the world and wonder and connect to that child who wants to discover life and feel free. So if you made it this far in the video and you understand what I'm saying, then all this is encompassing is that spirituality is a very broad practice that includes a lot of things. But the 8 building blocks I said, faith, hope, acceptance, tradition, ritual, awareness, manifestation, meditation, all those things are ways to unlock. There's so many more, but all those things are ways to unlock this world and things beyond ourselves. So that way we can feel peace. So if that's something that's calling to you, then do not be afraid to walk into that crystal shop and ask questions. And people all have all sorts of attitudes and hierarchies and all that shit, but you're here for you. And your spiritual practices should mirror the love you desire to feel for yourself and the love you already have for yourself. The fact that you're looking out for yourself is proof that you already love yourself. So just remind yourself that, and remember that spiritual practices and spiritual concepts, again, like, faith and ritual and manifestation and meditation, those are just tools to get you a step further into connecting to yourself. And then if it doesn't resonate with you, like many people say, leave the rest for somebody else. Only do the things that make you feel like you can really elevate, accelerate, amplify, make you feel big. And there's so much out there. So thank you for watching my TED Talk. Again, just there's functional ways to do things and non-functional ways to do things. There's like spirituality that just goes too far and everyone's very absent of everything. And then there's ways to do it where you can deepen your connections and be a better conversationalist and a better friend and a better partner and a better family member. There's a better everything. There's ways to do it functionally that you can not lose yourself in completely, but you lose the right parts of yourself that need to die and need to change. And it's a really wonderful process. And like any great process, it's hard. So love you all. I hope you find something that resonates with you. And if you feel like you're being called to some spiritual practice, don't be afraid of it. Just enjoy it. It's a really fun and beautiful thing. And there's so many ways to feel joy and love. And that is the big encompassing idea, is just to feel love and peace. So peace and love to you all. See you next time.